Hi, thanks for joining me for this week's episode of Quick Business Tips. Today, we're diving into mindset. Specifically, we're going to talk about two things that can really hold you back from achieving your goals, even if you have the best business strategies and marketing tactics in place. And those are fear of success and imposter syndrome. Now, these sneaky little triggers are incredibly common among business owners, especially entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, and they're the type of things that can come back even after you feel like you might have dealt with them. They manifest themselves in subtle little ways like procrastination, perfectionism, or just playing small and avoiding putting yourself out there. But their impact on your business can be really significant and prevent you from taking the actions that you really want to take and achieving the goals that you've set out to achieve. Now, you might be thinking, look, I understand that you're good at marketing, you've been running a business, you have some business strategies, but I don't know about, therapy. And the truth is, your mindset is really the foundation of all of your marketing and business success. Think of it this way. If you have this really amazing sports car, I'm talking super high performance, but the engine kind of sputters every time you press the gas, or you're just afraid to put your foot on that gas pedal, you're not going to get very far in this car. Now imagine if your marketing and business strategy is the car and it's amazing and it has all the right parts and pieces in it, but your mindset is the engine and your imposter syndrome is the person driving the car. That is what's really holding you back, even though you have some of the best, most high performance pieces in this car that is your business. So today we're going to pop the hood and take a look at the two common mindset blocks and see what we can do to overcome them when they pop back up. So let's start with the fear of success. Now, if you're new in business, you might be wondering, what is this fear of success thing? I got the fear of failure down, but not this fear of success. And it's really a lot more common than people think it is. It's one of the things that comes up more often than anything else when I'm talking to my clients. And it's not really that conscious fear, like someone's afraid to achieve the goals that they set out for themselves at the beginning of the year, but it's more a subconscious. And they tend to be, if they're really digging into it, more afraid of the changes that they think will come if they achieve some of the big goals that they've set out for. So fear of success might deep down inside be fear of the unknown. What will my life look like if I really achieve this level of success? Will I be able to handle the increased responsibility? Will I like the increased visibility? Will there be too much pressure? Or it's a fear of losing relationships. Will my friends and family still want to spend time with me if I'm more successful? Or will they be jealous or resentful? Or what if I start making more money than my spouse? There's also the fear of loss. And a lot of times this is loss of time, loss of freedom. So if my business really takes off and it's fantastic, will I have to work even harder than I'm working now? Will I have less free time for my family and friends? Will I not have time anymore to, play golf or do whatever, paint or do whatever it is that brings you joy? And then there's the fear of judgment or criticism. Will people think that I'm bragging? Will they want to tear me down? Like this, what will people think of me if I become this amazing business leader? And these fears can not just be feelings and thoughts in our heads, but they can actually manifest as typically unconscious self-sabotaging behaviors. And they can show up in ways like procrastination, avoiding networking opportunities, avoiding visibility opportunities, or even like not putting out proposals for bigger jobs because you're just afraid of what will happen if you get that level of business. I have experienced several different iterations of the fear of success during my own business journey. But one in particular is when I decided that I was going to be much more intentional about my personal brand on social media, that I was going to post much more consistently, start showing up, showing my face, showing clips of this podcast. Um, One of the trends that's really big in marketing right now is kind of lifestyle type photos of yourself. I was never, like in 20 years, I hadn't ever really posted pictures or videos of myself to grow my business. So this was a huge undertaking for me. It was way outside of my comfort zone. And the closer I knew I had to do it, to really get where I wanted to be in my business. Plus, I was telling my clients that this is part of marketing. This is a marketing tactics that works. And it was difficult for me to be saying that they should be doing it when I didn't want to. So I knew that I was going to do it. But as I started to get closer and closer to like, okay, I'm committed, I'm in, I'm going to do it, I started to hear the little voices in my head. Who do you think you are? Like, why do you think you're good enough to be posting advice to other business owners? What happens if you put all this stuff out on social media, your friends see it, and then new business doesn't come in? Or what if your friends see it and want to know why all of a sudden you, who have never posted on social media more than like twice a year, you're now posting almost every day? Or what if I get successful and then lose some of that success? There was just a lot of different things, a lot of self-judgment rolling around in my head, and it was really kind of scary. And I started putting things off. I wouldn't, pull out clips from my podcast, so I didn't really have that to post. I started I actually scheduled three different photo shoots and ended up sick with COVID on one, had pink eye in another one that I had scheduled, and I think I had some weird, like, I don't know, eye allergy thing. My eye was huge and swollen and red, and I clearly could not do the photo shoot. So it was definitely a subconscious self-sabotage, but my body was physically reacting to the professional photos. It was the weirdest thing. But I knew deep down inside that this was going to be amazing for my business. And it was once I committed to it and got into it and started doing it. And you know what? My friends weren't annoyed. I even had people that I didn't know I was really friends with on Facebook, and I knew them in real life, and they came up with me and they told me how much they enjoy my videos. And so it was exactly the opposite of everything that my head was telling me. But one of the best ways that I have come up with for overcoming fear of success or any kind of fear is to reframe the feelings as excitement. And there's science behind it. The physical sensations of fear that you feel in your body are nearly identical to the physical sensations that you feel in your body when you're really, really excited about something. So your heart races, your palms sweat, you feel this like surge of pent up energy in your body. And that's your body's way of preparing you for some kind of action, right? Now, how your brain interprets these feelings is what makes you decide if these feelings are fear or if they are excitement. So the next time that you start feeling a sense of fear of success, don't ignore it. Don't try to shove it down into a box. Acknowledge the feeling. Like, yep, there it is. I got the butterflies in my stomach. My heart's racing a little bit. Starting to feel that anxiety thing coming on. And then tell yourself you are getting ready to do something absolutely amazing. That's what your body's feeling. You're super excited about it. And then focus on the positive potential outcome. So instead of thinking about all of the downsides that might come if you succeed at this thing, focus on the benefits. What are some great things that can come out of it? What are you actually excited about as a result of this action that you're going to take and something that you can look forward to? It sounds a little corny and honestly a little simplistic, but it works. And it's not something I came up with my own. I've heard lots of different podcasts, read books. It's just a compilation of things. But it's really helped me and it's helped a lot of my clients who have, sort of felt that weird feeling that everybody feels at one time or another in their lives. Now, the second trigger that we're going to talk about today is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is that feeling of fraud, that you're not really as good as everyone thinks you are, and that someone's going to find you out. It's super common among high achievers and people in more creative fields. It's kind of that nagging voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not experienced enough, even when in reality, there's all kinds of evidence that you are. Imposter syndrome can lead to a lot of the same things as fear of success. Can lead to perfectionism, procrastination, and that downplaying of your achievements. So when you start, someone says something complimentary about your success, and instead you attribute it to luck, external factors, other kind of things that is anything other than your own skill and effort. It can also make you want to avoid different challenges and just kind of stay in your very comfortable zone. Now, I've battled imposter syndrome a number of times throughout my career. I feel like imposter syndrome, more for me than success or failure, is this recurring theme that keeps popping up. Um, And talked to other very high achieving business leaders that, that imposter syndrome kind of comes back around. You feel like you've dealt with it, you think you're over it, you're good to go, and then whoop, here it comes back again. The little voice in my head is a lot of, you're not really good enough. Do you really know what you're doing? Are you really qualified to be answering this type of question? Or what if people find out that I'm just making things up? Because there is a lot of marketing that feels like we're just making it up as we go along. But I realized to notice the thoughts, recognize them for what they are, and remember that they're not facts and they don't have to control me. One of the best ways to deal with imposter syndrome is to gather evidence that argues the other side. So if your brain is telling you that you're not good enough, you need to fight back with facts. truths, things that like are foundational that tell you that you absolutely are good enough. And a great way to do this is to create what I call a win file. It can be a document, a folder, something you throw together on Canva, an actual notebook, but it's everything that you've ever accomplished in your business, in your career. It can be positive feedback from clients. So, some Google reviews, grab those screenshots. And it can be some awards, successful project outcomes, proposals that were accepted. And if you're in the kind of business I'm in, you can show like your client wins because they reflect your own wins and things that you've learned, skills that you've developed. Just throw everything together into this wins file. And when those feelings of imposter syndrome start coming up, you can just flip through. You don't need to read the thing front to back, but you can, open it up to the middle, find something you haven't read in a while, and look at that and be like, yeah, okay, here's all the reasons that I am good enough and I can do this and I got it, and let's move on. If you don't want to create a client's wins or a wins file, you can just pop over to your Google reviews, flip through those. Um, Anytime you're feeling like that, honestly, my clients say things about me that just blow my mind, and they're so nice and so heartfelt. It's one of the best things that I can do when I'm starting to doubt myself a little. I also think it's important to track your progress. Go back and look at, when you just started your business, 5 years into your business, like whatever it was, look at like where you are or where you were and then where you are now. Like, I can't imagine being where I am now 10 years ago. Like, just it would have blown my mind. And so remembering what things look like for me and my business 10 years ago is a really great way to be like, yeah, okay, I do know what I'm doing. And the easiest thing you can do is to focus on your strengths. The voices in your head are going to be pointing out your weaknesses. But when you focus on what you're really good at, your unique God-given talents and skills, the things that people compliment you on a regular basis, you can use that to kind of drown out a lot of the negative thoughts in your head. And when you are able to compile lots of different ways to get yourself out of that imposter syndrome feeling, that's when it becomes a lot easier to sort of turn that page anytime it comes up and move on. Now, I think it's important to acknowledge that there is an intertwining of the fear of success or fear of failure and imposter syndrome. They are kind of like 3 points on this super uncomfortable triangle, and they constantly feed into each other. So imagine if you're secretly afraid of succeeding because you're afraid of the unknown and the changes that that success might bring. And you're also fighting thoughts of imposter syndrome. And you're constantly doubting your abilities and worrying about being exposed as a fraud. Now, being found out as a fraud is also at the core of fear of failure. So the fear of success makes you maybe not complete the big proposal that you need to complete. And that feeds into imposter syndrome because now you're not going to win the proposal because you haven't completed it. And that's going to feed into fear of failure because now you haven't won the proposal and you know that you are now a failure. And so it turns into this really vicious, ugly cycle. And it can be really, really detrimental for your business. It can actually make your business completely fail. So it's important to address the mindset blocks not in a vacuum, but holistically. So by understanding how they intertwine with each other and how your brain can kind of use one to prove the other, um, knowing that and dissecting it and looking at it as a whole big picture will help you move past it a little faster. Another helpful technique when any of these feelings come up is to just reframe how you're thinking about failure. The most successful business owners, the ones who are really achieving incredibly remarkable things in their industries, they didn't get there by trying to avoid failure at all costs. Most of them got there by embracing failure, learning from it, and using that to fuel their growth. And at a very young age, I, at least, and I think a lot of us, were taught that failure is something to either avoid or to be ashamed of. And in the business world, failure is inevitable. It's just a part of the process. And every successful entrepreneur that I know has a whole list of areas where they failed. They failed at this launch, or they failed when this product released, or they failed here or there. But instead of looking at it as something to be ashamed of, or proof that they are inadequate in some ways, they use that failure as feedback. It's just some information that will tell them why something didn't work. They learn, they adjust, and they try it again. Thomas Edison has a famous quote where he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that didn't work." And if we embrace that mindset of the innovator of Thomas Edison, then we get one step closer to our own success. Okay, so now it's that time in the episode where I want you guys to take one step today. So, first, anytime you start feeling that anxious energy that we relate to as fear, I want you to consciously tell yourself, I feel this. And it's not fear, it's excitement. It's my body getting ready for something amazing. And see how that works out for you. And then I want you to start pulling together a few things that you can start putting into your wins file. Remember, this can be a document, something you put together on Canva, an actual notebook, whatever works for you. But if you are struggling with these type of blocks and you want someone to really come alongside you and help you through this and grow your business faster than maybe you could on your own, I want to remind you that at Limitless Impact Agency, we don't just provide marketing strategies. We want you to help we want to help you build an amazing, holistic business. So, we are going to talk about mindset, goal achieving, business strategies, building teams, leaderships. And one of the ways that you can sort of dig into your business is to take our free business health quiz. Now, it's going to take you about 10 or 15 minutes to answer all the questions, but at the end of the quiz, you will get a 15 to 20 page document that's going to lay out all of the areas of your business and highlight the areas where there are some gaps and you could use some improvement. And then It's also going to tell you what are some steps you can take to start making improvement in those areas. If you would like to take this quiz, the link is in the show notes below. That's all I have for this week. Until next week, I am Jennifer Swineford with Limitless Impact Agency.